Hello again. So I thought I would do a little short video about the new Suzuki DR-4S. Now there's been a few reviews out already, so there's been a press launch over in the States. I think it was over in Oregon. And I think the thing that I've noticed is that despite all the doomsayers and everybody slagging the bike off, before they'd actually seen it, let alone sat on it, all of the reviewers seem to be saying that it's a pretty amazing machine. So what I thought I would do is I would construct a magic quadrant, the diagram that is beloved of management consultants all across the world, because I've heard a few complaints about people saying it's too expensive, what's it for, and all this kind of stuff. So I've done a magic quadrant, which you can see here, which basically shows on a sliding scale, on two scales, X and Y, the capability of various bikes versus the price. So along the bottom we've got capability, along the y-axis we've got price. Now what I've done is I've put my CRF-300L sort of in the middle, so middle in terms of price, middle in terms of off-road capability. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some other bikes in and around it, so we'll do that now. So you can see top right hand corner is the KTM EXE or EXE-F, probably any size. They're up at the, probably the competition end, and the 450 EXE-F 450 costs over £11,000. And then towards the left hand side you can see there's a cluster of bikes like the CF Moto Vogue 300, and you might disagree where some of these are, but I think it's about right. Now what you will notice in the top right hand quadrant is that it's a bit empty. As far as I can see, outside of the competition machines, there's things like the Yamaha WR-450, 450L, the Enduro model, and there's the discontinued in the UK Honda CRF-450. Now interestingly enough, the WR-450 has mysteriously come down in price from about £9,000 to about £7,700. And while we don't know the price of the DR, the new Suzuki DR4 here in the UK, a dollar conversion will probably put it around that mark, maybe as much as £8,000. And everybody's saying that's way too expensive. But if you think about it, what else is in that quadrant? There's not much else there. I mean, I would argue that the WR is probably, well, for a start, you've got to make it road legal. It's got no indicators and stuff. And I don't know about you, I won't fancy going to work on a WR-450. God, imagine how hyper that would be. My God, God, it'd be like having 10 coffees by the time you got to work. So I do think there is something particularly unique about the Suzuki DR4. I think it fits nicely into that quadrant. It's not a competition machine, but obviously it's a lot better and a lot more capable than the CRF. I mean, you've got an engine that will last forever, so it doesn't have short service intervals. You can ride it to work. Obviously you can do trail riding, and I think you could probably do quite easily a traditional time card enduro, as long as it wasn't too extreme. And I think that's the bike that we haven't really got at the moment, unless I'm missing something. I mean, the CRF 450 didn't really take off, and I don't think you can get it in the UK, but that was £9,000. And then everything else sort of that isn't as dirt capable is obviously a lot cheaper. So personally, I think if the DR4 comes in at, I don't know, £7,500, yes, it's expensive, but what else is there out there? In terms of market positioning, that kind of price is absolutely spot on. And I hear or you read lots of silly comments from people, like there was some guy going, it's way too expensive, it's absolutely pants. I mean, you can get a Triumph 400 Scrambler for £5,500 and it makes one more horsepower. What sort of mad comparison is that? That's like comparing a grapefruit to a brick. Doesn't make any sense. So yes, it is expensive, but to the right people who are looking for that kind of bike, I think there's a lot of value in it. Because I sort of see the DR4 as the DRZ-4. It's kind of like the modern water-cooled equivalent of the XR series. It's kind of like a good sportsman, clubman competition bike, as well as a trail bike, as well as something that you can ride all day. And I think it will make a very good Spartan overlander, without going down the adventure bike route. So I'm kind of I say I'm comfortable with the price. I understand the price. The bike isn't for me because it's way too capable. That's why I've got the CRF 300. But for the right person, I think the DR is a cracking bike. And judging by some of the reviews that are coming out, particularly the one, I think it was done by motorcycle.com, quadrant.com, you know, and that's been done by somebody who looks like a really good off-road rider. And he's come away remarkably impressed. So have all the other reviewers actually. And I think what's interesting is, you know, a lot of people are going, oh no, it's too expensive, we don't need modes, we don't need that, that and the other. But this guy from motorcycle.com, really good road rider, doing some really, you know, sort of like twisty single track in the forest, he was saying the modes are brilliant. He said the gravel mode plus one of the ABS modes was absolutely brilliant. You still get peak power, just softens the power a little bit. So I think that what that means to me is I think it's a bike that you can grow with as well. So, you know, if I was 30 years younger and I was a bit fitter and I was interested in doing enduros, I would definitely go for the DRZ-4, and I might start it off in one of the lower modes and then slowly work my way up. I think it's the right price. I think it's a really great bike. I'm not sure whether it's going to sell very much, but you know, you can't compare it to adventure bikes, you can't compare it to the CF Moto 450, you can't compare it to a Himalayan. I've put those in so you can see them, but I think Suzuki have positioned it about halfway in that top right quadrant absolutely perfectly, and I think the price reflects that. Anyway, that's my two penneth. Whether you agree or not, you know, let me know in the comments. But you know, I'd love a go of one, but it's not the bike for me from day to day. But as I say, if you're looking to do some quite gnarly terrain, you might need it for going for work, and you're interested in dipping a toe into enduro competition, traditional time card enduro, you know, going through the forests of Wales or wherever, or North Yorkshire, I think it could be the bike for you. And you know, from a servicing perspective, you're not really going to have to worry about it, you know, whereas if you're over on the top right of the quadrant and you get a KTM EXCF, I mean, you know, those things are amazing bikes, but you know, the service intervals are measured in hours. And yeah, if that's what you want, get one. But yeah, I think there's something quite special and unique about the DRZ-4, and yeah, and I think the price reflects that. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you later, and hope you've enjoyed the Magic Quadrant.